Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. Incredible guests the world over with amazing insights. Quite often, they've been through transformative journeys or they're simply giving service today to others. We've had international New York Times bestsellers, a guest from Super Soul Sunday, The Oprah Show, a White House physician to the US president, a former Miss USA, the youngest Delta Force operator ever admitted to Delta Force. And many others. One actor, Ian Stenlich, incredible. If you watch Sea Patrol on Amazon Prime, that's him, Captain Mike Flynn. Oh, was he fun? Check out that episode. We are also booked all the way to almost the end of 2025. So that's 300 episodes just about. I've got someone on I haven't talked to in 4 years, but he is super well known on the international speaker circuit. He's a positive psychologist, author of many books. He's also the academic director of SMBI. You don't know what that is? You do now. Columbia University, the Spirituality Mind Body Institute. Dr. Lisa, I'm not going to get her name exactly right. She was almost a guest once here. Lisa Jane Miller, I think it is to be proper. She gives great interviews. So we have coming to us from the tri-state area. He works in New York. Dr. Dan Tomasulo. Dan, I haven't seen you in a while since the lockdown. It is great to see you. We've been yucking it up before the show, and I'm just a huge fan of yours. You know what you're doing. And here are two of your books I'm just going to mention. One from 2020, Learned Hopefulness, but your most recent book is The Positivity Effect, 2023. I think they're both from Harbinger, but I can't remember. Look, great to have you here. Good to see you.
Good to see you. How exciting to be here. You're just a ball of energy. It just kind of radiates on out, you know? It's very cool. Very cool.
Thank you. And I can say from my memory of you before, I've got goosebumps everywhere. You're wide open and you really do take the non-task of opening openness seriously, which means you're here quite a bit and I love it. So the highest regard for you. And I want to say that like just publicly at the outset. Um, can we get into one of those moments in life that just has no way, not linear, no way you can define it? Something happened at some point during your entire lifetime trajectory. A stranger said something, disappeared after you looked back. Was there a moment in life that the universe stepped in some form or fashion you still don't quite know how to explain, but was a good one?
Yeah. There's been a bunch, and those kind of things really stick with you because I really think that spiritual stuff happens through surprises. I think we're kind of like locked on to this path, and then something hits you, and that's when it's sort of like it feels like the universe is tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, excuse me, you're not going in the right direction. Could you please take this right hand turn? And I think there's been a few of them, but one of them I was I do a lot of writing, and I was in a screenplay course, and there were only 50 of us. It was like very intense, and every day that you would write a scene, and they had an acting troupe of SAG actors who were coming in, and they would reenact the scene. They would just do what you wrote in the morning in the evening. So it was beautiful. It was a very intense, very cool program. But you're meeting a lot of sort of high-end creative people who are very, very, very energetic. And everybody is talking about everything all the time and ideas and da 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 da, da. So by like day 3 or 4, you're friends with everybody. It was a pretty small group. It was only like 50 of us. And I will never forget that there was like 15 of us that went out for lunch, and we're throwing ideas up all over the place, and everybody's doing this. We're eating lunch like this. And out of the blue, one of the women that I didn't know, she was there as a writer, but she was also an actress. She just um, does a quote from A Course in Miracles, and I'm very familiar with that. So she says the quote, and I basically say the other half of the quote. It's like one of those things, and it wasn't for anything other than just boom boom, saying it like that. And in that world, there's a term, and the term is called an appointment. You have an appointment, And she says, "We must have an appointment." And I was like, Yeah, I mean, you weren't looking for, you weren't thinking about it. And it was the most mind-boggling afternoon, in terms of conversation. And we just talking, and it was just, and literally I remember my body was shaking the entire time. And it wasn't anything other than, oh, whatever this is, I better pay attention to it. And she had exactly the same response. So it was like this very intense kind of thing. And somewhere I'll just cap this story off. Somewhere maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock. It was much later in the day. We realized, geez, we haven't eaten anything. Let's go to a restaurant. We walk into this restaurant, and it was the most bizarre thing in the world. We walk in, and the entire restaurant, and I mean the staff, the owner, and they started to treat us like royalty, and it was bizarre. And they brought food over right away. They brought wine over. I didn't ask for it. I just kind of waved hi, but they brought all this stuff. And at the end of the evening, found out that they had mistaken us for a very famous couple that we didn't know. And he said, "We know that you live around here." And I don't live around here, And I think my Jersey accent probably came off. I said, "Hey, well, who are you talking to? I don't live around here." And then they revealed the whole story. But it was a magical moment that non-linear, not, but I will tell you the impact that changed my life. It changed my life because I couldn't you couldn't repack your life after something opened it like that. So that's one. There's several others, but that was a big one. That was a big turning point.
Well, we should make sure people who are watching who haven't been to New York City know that every restaurant treats you that way. We'll do a New
That's
York
true.
tourist industry advertisement here. And secondly, that's unusual. I've never heard one like that because I feel like angels were all around you and they were vibing through you without having to physically show up at same effect, net effect. So it's truly an original story. I love it. What was the next one you have?
So then sometimes it's not quite as dynamic, it's much more subtle. And I literally, in the last couple of days, I've gotten an email, and you get used to chewing through emails. You can literally get hundreds a day, and you just kind of answer them, move on, answer them, like that kind of thing. And not to demean any of the content that's in there. It's just like you got a bunch and you try to do them and move through them. But this one email was a reflection somebody had. And they had this reflection, something about our program, which is, a spiritually oriented psychology program in an Ivy League school. But they had a reflection on the program as they literally had come for a visit. They're not a student like that. And the reflection was it was as if reading that reflection was like a personal connection. It was like, oh my goodness, this person isn't talking about, oh, we saw this, we saw that, we saw this. It was such an informed thing. And I couldn't shake it. It was the kind of thing like, pay attention to this. That's the other thing. It's always a surprise, and it's always about paying attention. Right? Anyway, that that email, so there was actually no person, no figure, no like that. The crafting of the words was like a spearhead. It just seemed like, my goodness, I have to receive this, that kind of thing. And 9 times out of 11, I have a more uh, not formulaic, but a pretty standard response. I could not do that, and I had to really craft a response. And I realized, oh my goodness, this is that other level of thinking I don't get to as often as I like, where it's not just me, it's us, the universe and I crafting this letter together. So I love those kinds of things, and you know. feel like I'm on the lookout for that, you know?
I like it. I tried to look for I had a recent phone call. I mean, when I say recent, probably July. It was a missed call at 3 a.m. from an area code and a phone number. I don't know, but it was from a Joy Grace. And I screenshotted it. So I have it somewhere. I have to remember to pull that out. I've had a lot of those over time. And I'm going to digress for one more second. So I was writing a book. This is 10 or 12 years ago, something like that. And there's a chapter called Concrete Thinking. And right around then, I mean, I had 50 followers max on Twitter. I mean, I'm still only at 330 12 years later. Blame me. But an Italian concrete manufacturing company, a corporation in Italy, followed my Twitter account. Are you kidding?
Oh,
And it
that's
was
his stuff.
perfect. Yeah. And it was the universe that I love. And I have a photograph of that as well. So if I can dig those out, I will. Okay, let's do this. There is something called spirituality. The universe is awfully big. As we were saying before the show, there's no way we're the only casino on the strip. There's a lot more going on.
Yeah.
When did you first get clued in on this? Was it like when you were 4 or 5? Was it because of the family upbringing? How did this all work? And then when did you start paying attention? A lot of us run the other direction when we get a little tap on the shoulder.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I was at my third birthday party, and I was just running around with my cousin, and we're running around, running around, running around, and I was born 1951, so this was 54. So dial back your mind to what was going on in the world 1954, and it was a 3-year-old birthday party, lots of cake, families there. I'm running around in my grandmother's yard, and there's an old canvas hammock. And I would love to run and jump and then land on it as if I was flying and, do that. So I probably had ADHD undiagnosed back then. So little sugar probably gave me the boost to run around even more. But I remember running and running and running and running. And somewhere around the 500th jump, when I landed on the canvas, the stump that it was connected to cracked and broke and fell on me, right? And so the other side was connected to a tree, this side was connected to a trunk, and it fell. And so I really milked the opportunity to cry at my birthday party. So maybe I'd get another piece of cake or something like that. I wasn't really hurt, but I was really stunned. Like I was really stunned. And I was like, what happened here, And so after the family comes over, my cousin comes over, and everybody says, he's all right, he's all right. We're looking at the base of the tree. What, what caused this? And there was what they call a grub worm that eats the wood and eats all that stuff. And looking at this thing, and I will tell you, I had one of those moments where like the whole universe unfolded for a second because I said, "Oh my God, my grandparents had to meet and marry and migrate to the United States. They had to buy this property. Um, that then my parents had to meet, conceive me, and that was 3 years. That had to happen. This tree had to get hit by lightning 20 years ago, and this grub worm had to start eating this thing maybe 6 months ago, and I had to hit this thing so many times in just the right way. And I had this moment where it was like, whoa, everything is connected, And that was the beginning. That was like, wow, 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 wow. And I think that was truly, genuinely my first experience in awe. It was like, oh, there's there's more out here than my little 3-year-old mind or now my whatever-year-old mind can take in, and I better pay attention to that. But I think that was the beginning of surprises and paying attention. Yeah.
Okay, we are going to get back to your life path at different points or just different experiences that have happened, but let's go the biggest picture because I think it's for all of us. Every 5 to 10 years, we think we know something and we're like, I absolutely know how the universe works. I got everything figured out all over again since the last iteration of this. What do you know now that you love teaching students? You love talking about in a speech, you remind yourself. What wisdom have you gleaned lately that's the newest, freshest iteration of all this stuff?
I think at its core, I've come to deeply respect that there's two forces, that there's a push and a pull. I don't know if there's others, but those are the two that I am certain of. And that most people, most often, are really feeling pushed. And when there's an awakening, an awareness, and a wisdom that comes about, that's when you know that there's something pulling you, that you're moving towards something, not just moving away. And that subtle shift, because it's profound and it's subtle at the same time, then you realize, oh, all I want to do is be pulled. How do I get more of that happening? And that to me is where the beautiful part of science is now coming in and saying, you know, if you do this, this, and this, the pull stuff isn't gonna really get to you because you got your head buried in the sand someplace. You got to do this, that, and the other thing. And so that's the biggest thing. And I think all my courses, all the stuff is about how do you deal with unhooking from what you don't want and getting more of what opens you up to the universe. And that's exciting stuff.
Now, here's one of those eternal questions, but the answer's been a resounding yes on Angels, Positivity, and Love. We've got 200 episodes in the book, even though as we tape, Lee Woodruff, the Good Morning America reporter's show, is airing today. The answer is resounding yes, although we had one deeper explanation they needed to take it apart. Someone will have to figure that out. Put it in the comments, share, like, subscribe. It's free to subscribe, folks. Just hit a button. Here's the question: is love the fabric of the universe?
Oh, yes. No, no question. No,
Oh, but
no.
I'm going to do the follow-up question. How do you know?
Let's go back to Einstein and let's go back to entanglement and let's grab the particle physicists and get them in here. This idea that energy isn't created or destroyed, it's transformed. And okay, except for love. I really believe that that's not just renewable energy, but that's got the capacity to grow. And there's a reason why people can point to it and understand it and appreciate it because it's not like anything else. It's not like, oh, we're going to burn this log and it's going to turn to ash and we'll get heat from it. No, it's going to start big and go bigger. And so tapping into that without a doubt is key. Key.
Okay, but if we grabbed a 25-year career professional in New York City in a skyscraper somewhere, it could be Wall Street banking type. They're working 100 hours a week, or a lawyer somewhere.
Yeah.
How would you soften this a little bit just to say there's more available in each moment? How would you tackle somebody who knows they're not happy? It ain't working out right. They're working way too hard. They're doing the rat race up here. It's rinse, repeat. They might be making a lot of money. How would you say it a little differently so it's more at the societal level? So someone could be like, wow, maybe I do need to pump the brakes over here a little bit.
You ask good questions. Have you done this before? This is really
Hey,
good.
I hear that a lot, but I'm winging this. I used to prepare a little bit, and now I'm like, nah, I just try.
Ah,
And I lived in New York City for 18 years. So this is actually
oh,
a lifeline for anybody out there who stumbles on this 5 years from now and is like,
yeah,
wait, what's he talking about? I know he's on to something, but I got to
yeah.
relate to it at a more skyscraper level.
I think I've spent most of my professional career anyway, in helping people do that. I mean, it's interesting. Somebody asked me the other day, I was doing an interview, and we counted it up. I've conducted over 75,000 psychotherapy sessions over 40 years, right? And so it's like, oh my goodness, and so how do you boil that down into, what but the truth of the matter is it's really helping people come into conflict with themselves. that is at the core of it because it's the intra psychic irritation that really ignites the spark. So it's not like I try to convince anybody, be more loving. No, no, no. It's sort of like I say, are there moments in your life that are peak? Are there times in your life where it might have only been for 30 seconds, but you were like, wow, what is this? So, that is different than this. And what do you think was happening for this? Was that just, too much sugar or, what do you think caused that? And once people can sort of self-reflect on the differential between this part of their life that was peak, and maybe there's been a few of them scattered around, and this part of their life, which is a grind, they start to wonder about that. And once you get somebody to wonder about, geez, would you like more of that? Yeah, sure. Oh, what were you doing when that happened? Well, I would, and whatever they describe, that's the formula of the pull. That's the formula behind it because they're usually doing something where they're being capable of their best possible self, their absolute top thing. That's what they're doing. So it's sort of like, well, maybe we could experiment with that. And now people are interested in that because they're not in conflict with me or the world. They're in conflict with themselves. Yeah, I see the world this way. I see the world this way. But when they say, "Oh yeah, but there were these 3 days in France," hey, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, what happened there? Well, and then you help them see that.
Oh, exquisite. And I meant to say poetic on one of the earlier answers because you're on fire here. Okay, but let's do one more 180, flip the donut a little bit. And there's something called awareness or timelessness or unconditional love or consciousness or something. There's thousands of organizations, philosophies, and cultures that have tried to tackle this through eternity for mankind. It's an eternal question here.
Right?
And then there's thinking resistance, knowing that precludes possibility, our current currency for mankind. We know something's Polaroid snapshot, all this resistance, rejecting, blah, blah, blah. How do you like to describe this versus this? And is that a little bit of the same thing you were just describing, the grind versus, peak moments in a way?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. What a great, I was going to say intuitive question, but you knew that already, of course. Um, uh, when let me answer it by saying there's some really great research where we've looked at people who've been traumatized, right? People have like really, and you're talking 9/11, you're talking lots of things where people have had horrific things happen in their life. But then you see a group of people who've had that entire experience who not only get through it, but there's an accelerant in their life. They change, they become spiritual. They say, I don't want to work for a financial institution anymore. I want to go open a restaurant in Manhattan, or whatever they want to do. And when that happens, they've started to ask the question about what is it that these people are doing? What is it? And can we teach that? Importantly, can we give that to others? And one of the things that they found is that they use dialectical thinking, meaning that they don't push the bad away at all, but they hold it and link it to something. That was the worst moment in my life, and I'm not going to let it stop me from growing. And so that we were talking before about the non-dual. It's not this or that. It's the idea that there's a fusion. That's why the yin yang symbol is like the most ubiquitous symbol ever because everybody gets that. It's like these two paisleys interact and you get this half and half, but it's a whole. So if you can do that with your thinking, this crummy thing happened, but I'm not going to stop growing because of it. All of a sudden, now that energetically transfers. Um, so I think that's the key. It's like, and when, bad stuff happens to me, it's really hard because it eclipses your light for a moment or a while. But when I think, oh, I've got to remember not to push the pain away, but to find ways to transmute it or transform it into something powerful.
And then we're going to come back to that line of chatting in just a second. But let's go back now. When did you know you weren't alone? You heard a voice, you had a dream experience, or again, something else a little later than age 3 that you were like, holy cow, I'm not sure I just saw that or heard that. The brain thinking psyche side said, it's not on the clipboard over here. I'm not going to
Yeah.
that. But the heart was like, wow, bookmark.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's an easy one. There's lots, but there are two huge ones. Um, my I was out we were out shopping, and I came home and the electricity in the house had gone off, and uh I was noticing that all the clocks were blinking, you know. And everybody knows this, if you have an electric clock and you pull it out, when you put it back in, it starts at 12, right? It goes back to 12 and then it counts down. So I will never forget this. It's like I come in, and as soon as I walk in, it's saying 126, 126, So that was, and this is all before cell phones or whatever. And I walk in, phone is ringing, pick up the phone, and it's my mother telling me that my father has passed away. And I was like, oh, wow. And I said, how long ago? She said, just an hour and a half ago. And it was like, hmm. And then when I actually went, I got the records. The all the electricity had gone off like at the moment he passed. And my father and I, one of the great things about our connection, lots of joking all the time, but also a lot of puzzles. We loved puzzles. So my father wasn't just going to stop the clock for me. That would have been too easy. It would have had to know, when did he shut the electricity off, how much time had gone by. And I thought, oh, this is absolutely perfect, absolutely perfect. And to boot, he was an electrician. So I thought, what better way for him to have that kind of connection to me? And that was powerful, because I felt, obviously sad about the loss, but it was also like, nah, I'm not going away. I might have changed form, but I'm there. That's for sure.
Ah. And you said you had another one as well. That was incredible. I loved it.
The other one was with my mom passing. So I guess I've never talked about this in this way. But I never put those two together. But that was really freaky, because my mom was sick. I was talking to her, and I was planning to go down. She was down in Florida, and I was going to fly down to see her. And uh, she was in hospice. And so made the arrangements. And so I was going to get a couple more hours of sleep and then fly down. And in the middle of the night, a huge cord came out from me, like very umbilical style. And it came out like right from this part of my chest, like this. And it got ripped out. It got ripped out, and I could not breathe. And I freaked out. I thought, oh, kind of young for a heart attack, but all right, I guess that's what's happening. And I was panicked, but I was thinking, oh, my mom is that's her cord. This is the connection to my mom. And the fascinating thing was, I couldn't breathe. I thought I was having a heart attack. This cord is gone that I thought was giving me life. And it seemed like 4 hours, but I'm sure it was only a few seconds. I was able to take in a breath, right? And I took this breath in, and the voice was clear as a bell. It's like that cord was taking energy, not giving energy. it was the other thing. It was like, oh, that's interesting. As a psychologist, that's an interesting interpretation. Anyway, all that passes. I over the next couple of months between her estate and everything else, I got fatigued, and I was never into the energy work, Reiki or energy of it. It was like that. No, give me a good massage or thing like that, but not the energy work. And I went to a very well-respected Reiki worker, and I told her, I said, I haven't done this kind of stuff. And I had heard of her, she had heard of me, and whatever. And she said, well, here's how it works, blah, 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 blah. And in Reiki, I've since become a Reiki master because it blew my mind that night. There's all these positions, and she put her hand under this shoulder. And when she put her hand on top, the loudest snap spark you could imagine, like this. I hadn't told her anything that had gone on. Didn't even tell her that my mother had passed, nothing like that. Her hand pulled away like this, and we both let out a like, oh. And she stands back like that and she goes, "What's happened to your mother?" That was her first question. And I said, "Okay, get your hands off me because we're gonna have to do some talking before we dive back in." But that informed me of something very deep about the universe, energy, my naivete, all of those kind of things. And then I became fascinated reading everything about, and she showed me a book which blew my mind. I think it was Barbara Brennan's Hands of Light kind of thing,
The
right?
blue,
She
yeah, the blue. I've done and I've had guests who have studied that way in different locations where she had different schools.
and you open up to she opens up to this page and the chord, they're showing the chord. It's like on page 142 or something like that. She said, "Do you see that chord? It got pulled out." I was like, they got pictures of this thing?
And can you circle around the chord concept and do some more descriptors for anybody who's just like they're not relating to the concept of the chord? Just do some description around it real fast.
Yeah, so and again, at the time I was pretty naive, so I didn't really know about that kind of stuff. But then it had an umbilical feel to it. So it felt just like what an umbilical cord would do, would pass nutrients or something like that. But it definitely had a life-sustaining element to it. And it was, what they would technically, I guess, say is your heart energy or your heart chakra. It was there. And it felt as if you had a major electrical plug, like a 220 line plugged in here, and if you didn't have it, you would die. That's what it initially felt like. But after the recovery from that, it was, oh, wait a minute, this was going the other way. This was much more of siphoning energy, taking energy rather than giving. So I had it reversed. It was like I was getting this from my mother, where at that point in our lives, there was more shifting the other way. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because I thought, oh, how am I going to exist without that energy source? But actually, that was a transition point because you didn't you didn't have to have that energy come out of you. And again, the timing of that was identical. That whole sequence happened, and maybe 3 minutes later, my sister called me, just to like confirm it. I was like, I know. Yeah.
Incredible. Okay, if I say the phrase grow your awareness, not your thinking, what does that mean?
It's a very good question because I think ab- about perspective versus knowledge. You know, um, we get filled with knowledge in so many different ways, but to really try to expand your awareness and your consciousness, isn't really about filling up a vessel, right? As Socrates would say, right? So it's not about that. It's really about um, allowing yourself to be more and more present. That the capacity for presence isn't about what's here, but it's to find ways to let that expanse happen more and more. So I think for me, it would be, knowledge is really, of course, important, but it's like stepping stones to something greater and greater allowance of awareness.
Nice. Okay, are you ready for that special moment? We do it on almost every show. There's been two I've forgotten. I had such a good time before the show, during the show. I forgot to light any sage. There's a couple guests, we like a lot of contrast on the show. You're not going to light sage for these two guests, and that's okay too. And they did a great job, and they were laughing on the show and having a good time, I hope. That's the goal of the show, is make sure the guest is comfortable. I'm going to light some sage if you're in Germany, Tokyo, Saudi Arabia, but it's 2030, way in the future, when we've got by now 10 million views a show. People are like figured out, hey, something's up on the show. This is the beginning of that something. And I've only got one bit of ruler structure, and I'm going to make it sound good here. You're asking the universe, setting your intent, asking the universe angels to make it nice, get you out of your head into your heart so you can smell sage lit in a second via two screens. And it doesn't matter about time and space. If you're really gung-ho on this, you're already smelling it as I'm lighting it if you're intuitive. And what's crazy is you can ask for flowers. We had a South African in Nicaragua get protea, if I said it correctly. We just had somebody else get the Z flower that's in South Africa, another South African, and it's bird of paradise. So I've had a lot of South Africans on the show for some reason. So they got bird of paradise. I had to look it up. I can't pronounce it. Beautiful flower. And I was wearing a bird of paradise Hawaiian shirt for it. But Dan, here you are in the tri-state area right now. You got sage. We did this before, I think 4 years ago, and then before
Yeah,
the show. Are you already getting the sage?
I am. I am. It's wild.
You,
It's really wild.
you asked your big crew in the sky for some flowers and maybe even Maui Wowie Hawaii ocean smell as well. And
Mm.
people can have it go down their back or get yummy in the tummy. Here's the deal. We tend to look at our shoe tips as a metaphor. And if you just look up, and by that I mean we're not used to asking for anything that's beyond what our thinking says is okay. Just ask for this to be really nice in some form or fashion for you. Waves of light, hugs, flowers, ocean, whatever you can think of. Do it your way. It's Burger King, the 1980s commercial. Have it your way. Okay, Dan. I know Dan's having a blast with me today. Okay, Dan, tell us, what did you get? Did you get a little Hawaii? Did you get a little flowers? Something fun?
I will tell you, which is kind of mind-boggling. Um, the story I related to you about the energetic vibration when that person said that we must have an appointment, that was really palpable and extremely different for me. And the moment you did that, that started to come right back. And I've learned to appreciate that that is very much whatever it is, the Holy Spirit, the energy, the activation, all that is the source, God, whatever that is. I've learned that when that is present, that's the alternative to anxiety and fear. It's really it's using all the same pathways in some ways, but it's meant to enliven us, not frighten us. And I felt that the instant you did that. So thank you.
We might go out of order here a little. We're going to get back to serious discussion in just a second. You got as much time as you want with me. You're going to come back on the show as much as you want as well. Maybe a 3 month spacer if you start pushing it a lot. But we'll even do the APL Spotlight series. We'll get you on a panel with two other experts. You guys all talk for 90 minutes. People should check out those mind, body, spirit panels. Incredible experts talking about a lot of fun stuff. And there's a lot of organic energy going on. People get to participate. There's joint seeing going on with the universe, all sorts of experiential stuff, but not every panel's like that. Okay, before I put up any photos of angels or a Native American chief or a figure from India, why don't we just do something super simple? If anyone's seen the movie Celestine Prophecy, this is seeing auras, light, the force from Star Wars consciousness. I'll do this. Whether you see auras all the time and you're like, make it stop, or you're like, no, I've never seen an aura. My sister does it and I can't do it. Just get out of that mindset for just a second. Jump to your heart. I'll put this up as the background, but the blue sky is number one. You're going to see my light. No one has to show me theirs. You're good. But you'll see a little film and a light. More importantly, you're going to get a dad joke. And unfortunately, I think Dan's already heard this one, but he might still chuckle again if I tell it right. I've got to stand up to do this. It's a Santa's reindeer joke, Blitzen and Dancer. People only have to be in their heart, sit up straight, breathe through the mouth, don't touch your face, you're good. Allow, your heart's already there. You're seeing this energy all the time. It's just love. But Santa's reindeer, Blitzen, Dancer, just those two. Why do they drink so much coffee, Blitzen and Dancer? Because they're Santa's Starbucks. And you'll see a little film and a light. And Dan, are you already getting it?
Oh, sure.
What color do you see?
A very light yellow, almost beige-ish.
Cool. Now I'm going to go on an old surf trip or bodyboarding to be more precise, and I'll try to breathe more. Okay. And also, why don't you ask angels of the universe to do a secondary light show, little flecks of light, a heart. We've gotten phoenixes, we've gotten flowers, something that you know is not my light, like a pink shooting star. See if you can just ask for a little extra oomph that has nothing to do with me. Mine might brighten a little, though, as angels come in. Are you getting anything else? And it's okay if you're not, but if you are, I will tell one more dad joke. Bert and Ernie, Sesame Street. Bert offers Ernie ice cream. What's Ernie say? Sure, Bert. And now, are you getting any other light, a secondary show, anything at all?
Are you asking me or
Yeah, I'm
the rest
asking
of
you.
you? Oh, yeah, for sure. There's a little
They
for
don't make
sure.
shows like this anymore, do they?
No, they don't. No, 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 no. They don't. Perhaps there's a reason for that, but we won't go there. But the idea is, it's the little purple light came like right in the middle of all that. Little like a deep purple is the best way I can say that.
Love it. I'll put up.
Can I
Yeah,
ask you a question? Are
sure,
you open to
please.
that? Yeah, yeah. You know, I will tell you some of the things that I've been writing about and and doing and trying to learn about is that the humor is considered like a transcendent, right? And so I can feel how much that's part of who you are and how it works. And it's sort of like on the one hand, I know that that's true, that humor is like a vehicle and a thing like that. On the other hand, it seems so devalued or so, low, you know. You just getting humor and spirituality connected. Anyway, the question is,
Yeah, it's
tell
like,
me.
I'd say I use a lot of humor, and I think definitely there's a misappraisal process. Like it's more like being an aluminum can getting smushed by
Yeah.
society or the spiritual industry or any given expert any given day. But there's a lot of success. So if you tell a dad joke or you get a person out of their head, helping them to rediscover their heart for just the moment, it's opening openness, to quote Chogyam Trungpa. I like to say I have one unique line in 13 years. It's remember to remember if you can remember when you remember to remember, but that's not even original. I was at a bookstore once and a book, this has only happened twice, fell randomly off the shelf. Nobody pushed it from the other side. There was no wind. No one's in that little section. So you got to pay attention. You're like, hey, the book fell. It's spirituality section. You're like seeking. So I look, and this is a Tibetan Book of Dying with Songyel Rinpoche. It's not Rinpoche. I just figured that out a year ago. Rinpoche. And he did a forward for someone else's Tibetan Book of Dying. And it's 1.5 pages. At the end, it says, for 35 years, I've taught my students remember to remember. And at that moment, I'd been saying this for a while. I'm like, oh, the last
Oh.
unique thing I could tell anybody just went out the window. Because there are so many venerable folks who have come here before us to share. So I do like dad jokes. I think it's a way to carve out a little more room for maneuver for the person to
Yeah, yeah.
thinking and get to hear. With that, I will put up an angel for you named Joy. You can juggle 7 balls at once. By that, I mean, there's a lot of ways to interact with her. The more you juggle these balls, the intellect is like a rickety old crop duster out of North by Northwest, the one Cary Grant was running from across the field. And it only has a half tank of petrol. It's sharp and cunning for a couple of turns after Cary Grant, but then it's got to go back to the hangar. And after that, you're free and liberated. Here's an angel named Joy. If you want to put your hand up and feel her like a fireplace, feel sparkle, vibe, breathe through your mouth extra. I can't see you, so but ask for a whoosh or two or light ripples down your back. And we're going to jump to India and use a new term I've also learned this year. Ask for a touch of Shaktipat that mirrors or parallels the screenplay day that you started to taste earlier on the prior exercise, and have that ripple through you. And then you can see, this is more of an interdimensional photo. See any movement you want to see, catch a flower smell in the air. If we juggle 7 balls at once, the ego can only come out and knock 1 or 2 down. It can't resist at all. And then ask a private question, get an answer, get a beautiful compliment. But if you could then ask something to share with all of us, that's right in line with the way you've been describing everything today for us. And I'll give a hint. Positivity is abundance. That'll fuel her. That'll fuel you. And what's Joy got as a reminder for us all that is the patented Dan Tomasulo method of approaching life?
Be ready to receive.
I love it. I'll put up one Native American chief, very soft-spoken, very big heart, red shirt, Lakota Sioux historical chief wearing a U.S. presidential medal around his neck. Day after this photo was taken, White House, Pennsylvania Ave. Teddy Roosevelt, I think, was the president. Geronimo and him on horseback in a parade. But he's the gentlest mom in the world. I'm going to go close up. Red shirt, Lakota Sioux chief. And what's he have as a reminder for us all? You can catch
Stay
one of those.
present.
Yeah. You can catch one of those sacred smells too. Tobacco, sweetgrass, juniper. I don't have to light the sage for you to get a new batch of a different sage. And what are you getting in the air?
Yeah, to stay present. Stay present.
Do you have a favorite figure from India or another? Can I put up another angel? Do you have a request? Do you want, if you want to do Elvis, it'll be red, white, or blue. You got to pick. He's very spiritual, unconditional love, spirit guide.
Uh-huh.
Do one eye shut moment after you've connected. Is Elvis okay just for fun?
Sure.
Okay. He beautiful, beautiful. But red, white, or blue?
Let's do blue.
Okay. So here he is. Catch something personal, get a compliment, and just say "got it" out loud when you get it.
Got it.
Oh my God, that was so fast. I'm gonna laugh. Sorry, that was beautiful. And then one reminder for us all: we're all on our unique life path journey, whether we know it or not. Oh my God, you're still laughing. Or do we have permission to share that one out loud, or is that just
Sure. My father looked so much like Elvis. It was mind-boggling, and that's exactly the kind of shirt that he's had. And it was as if he was giving me a great big wink, like, "See, I told you I'm still here. Come on."
I love it.
That's funny.
And then
Yeah.
what's Elvis's reminder for us all?
Ah, of course. Remember to say thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, final one for the moment. We might come back to this later. We want to get you talking again, but here's Audrey Hepburn, angel, half Grace. There's already an angel named Grace, and half Sparkle in the moment. It's a historical photo, and we know photos can't move. But since the universe is so big and we're not the only casino on the strip, I think that means we can assume the opposite since everyone, tons of people, see her move in this photo. Eyebrow goes up, smile, shoulder waggle. Who knows? What will you allow for is really the rub. Toss out spirituality, toss me out, toss the show out, toss angels out. What will you allow for daily is the rub for all of us, living more daily, loving more, sharing more love. Here's Audrey. You can catch an uninvented perfume from Paris that's wow. And what are you getting?
A fascinating smile, a real movement, a real genuine smile. I guess since we've been talking about all this humor, she she jumped right on the bandwagon.
I love it. What else have you learned, especially in the last decade? Maybe there's the age old burden of self importance. We all go through it. If you work a high powered job or you've sold a lot of books or you've done anything and you hang your hat on an achievement, there's the opposite with failure, um, tasks and roles in life and stuff like that. What have you learned that allows us to keep it simple?
Yeah, I'm looking for the simple words to talk about the simple because the all the complex words come up, but breathing, breathing really has been more helpful than I could have imagined, and to return to it. I sometimes don't really, I'm breathing like that, and it's like um it doesn't take very much at all. And I've been much more fascinated with that in the last 10 years. And they even tried to do some writing about it, research about it, because it's like, boy, when you can use the breath as a source of grounding and inspiration and not just be almost dismissive of it, you forget about it. And then when you kind of return to it, it's like everything's all right. Things are okay. And that you can allow that breath to heal you, you know. It's that's been very centering, very grounding.
And you said the word allow, and it made me think of a quote from Gary Zukav, Seed of the Soul book.
Sure.
He has a million quotes everywhere, but here's a good one. And then we'll get your reaction to it. And maybe we'll play around for just 30 seconds more after that, but it won't be with angels, even though it'll be with angels all around. Here it is. You change the way that you shape the light, which is flowing through you, by changing your consciousness.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Consciousness is like a prism. It comes in this way, and then you get to yeah, you get to shine the colors the way that you need to. That's good.
Mother Teresa said once, compassion is like a deep breath for many. And by that, I think it took me a couple days because I'm always a little like slow on that stuff. Again, 16 years to figure out what non-duality meant. That's slow. But she meant simply that, for some, the closest with them being busy up here, rat race, working a high-powered job, or just worrying about bills, or just doing a lot of thinking. Welcome to being human. That a deep breath is as close as you're going to get on any given day if you're not paying attention. How you talk to us about compassion as an opportunity, a deep breath, or just paying attention more? I've learned a couple things in the last 13 years. Literally, where you put your focus is where you put it, and how you spend your energy is how you spend it. So,
Yeah.
what can you tell us about this whole thing about we've got some energy, we got to pay attention to something? What are we supposed to do again?
There's a great quote by William James. I don't think I'm allowed to do an interview without mentioning him, so I have to now that's been I could check that box, but he said my experience is what I agree to attend to. I tell people I teach two courses, 60 hours of positive psychology. I said, I could put that quote up and just point to it for the 60 hours. That's pretty much the whole course. My experience is what I agree to attend to, and that I think informs consciousness, awareness. Something's going wrong and you go down that rabbit hole and that's all you're doing is ruminating about that. That's where you're going to go. Yeah, that's going to be your experience. But if you can step back and say, a lot of times people come to me, they're depressed, and we do a role analysis of 12 things that are in their life. They're a brother, they're a father, they're a son, they're this, they're that, they're this, that, that, that. And in one of those roles, they're a worker. and they had a bad day at work and it's been tough at work. Well, they're depressed in that role, but there's all these other 11 things that are pretty good. Let's let's not we don't want to ignore that, but let's pay attention to the stuff that's happening that's good so that we have the energy to go deal with that thing.
Okay, one more exercise. It's just going to be me putting my hand up, almost like saying hi from Texas. You get to do it. I think, are you in New Jersey right now? I didn't
New
actually.
Jersey.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
By the Asbury Park area, is that?
that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
So I remember during the lockdown for folks, just so they know, we got to chat, but we were all locked down. So thank God for that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to put my hand up. You put your hand up. Only my highest intent and love and above and angels handling this, not my bill paying thinking side or like, hey, that football team is no bueno. Only the New York Jets. Okay. Uh, Put your hand up, feel what you can feel. No judging at home. People, if you're doing it at home, let angels kind of filter it. Only love and above, even if this is 20, 30 and beyond. Are you feeling a little sparkle, a little light?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. But you haven't heard the half of it yet. Just hear it from an angel named Charlotte. You're about to get whooshed some rainbow light. And I'm going to do 3 paddle swings of an invisible ping pong paddle. The first one low, the second one medium, the third one high. Ask for a little Shakti pot, some ripples up your back. I just learned that word this summer. Ask for a lot of love. Let's just do it easy way. Okay, but the first one, are you ready? Are you game? It's just gonna be some.
Yeah.
It's not my energy. Blame angels. Don't blame Canada. Here we go. Okay, and I'm gonna blow. My microphone's up there. It'll be a little Hawaii breeze in the air. You might get a little sea spritz right here. I'll see what I can do. And a lot of guests get that. Okay, hold on. Feel a little vibe up your back or up your front, but just a little. Keep it low. Sandbag a little. Dan, did you get a little energy whoosh?
What? That's ridiculous.
It
It's
is ridiculous.
unbelievably, it's so lovely ridiculous, by the way, for any that not that's ridiculous. I mean,
But
that's really wild.
if you want to turn that 1970s, was it a receiver component, the big one at the bottom with the big
Yeah.
knob that only moved a couple millimeters, but it was like a Rolls Royce the way it turned? Turn it up.
Right.
Well, you can go full now. I mean, I always say go big, go home. You're already home. Let's go big. The third one, we're going big. This one, if you need another stepping stone, what will you allow for? Ask for a lot of wind in your sails, humor. Get the
Huh.
Hawaiian smell in the air, the ocean, the sea spritz coming. Here it comes. And let angels rock you up and down endlessly. Ask to get rippled all the way to the end of the year. Oh, only not when you're driving, not when you're trying to eat the bagel, not when you're trying to drink the tea. Did you get a bigger whoosh?
Without a doubt. That's
Okay, but
that's
ask for the whole
something.
kit and caboodles. Let's just, I don't even know what that means, but it sounds good. Is it a 1950s
There's
expression?
more.
Yeah, there's more. So you're going to get whooshed. You get a little Hawaii in the air. Ask for ocean. Ask for anything you can ask for, but ask for glitter around you, golden glitter. Ask cultural East Asian, that figure that we love that's golden light.
Yeah.
Ask for
Yeah.
everybody to throw in a little something to the fet going on right now. Here's the last one, and we'll go back to talking.
That's wild.
How was that?
That is wild. I'm a Jersey Shore boy. We don't fool around with this stuff, but that was cool.
Can you use just a couple adjectives towards the energy? Was it lovely, loving? I'm gonna sparkly.
Sparkly and not easy to categorize. Yeah,
Beautiful.
it's not like, oh yeah, I felt a puff of wind in my face. Yeah, what are you gonna do about it? Yeah, it was
Oh my God, this is fun. Okay, now we're getting back to the mushy, serious, unconditional love, mankind's opportunity for growth and expansion. I mean, look, we got the complexity part down, locked solid. We get locked tight. We got it down. And we know that our potential for love is even greater than that. So there's a lot of hope here. Here it is. Sometimes this is an angel quote, very gentle quote. Sometimes the person next to you or a stranger just needs validation via love and compassion. A smile changes any moment. So too does laughter or a few kind words. Be compassionate to all. Do it. What say you, Dan?
Yeah. Yeah. I, the thing for me is to make sure that you're filled up, that self-compassion, I think, precedes and facilitates compassion for others. Because if you try to do it when your tank is empty, something good will happen, but you don't want to be depleted. And so the idea is that it's a two-way street. When you give, you get filled up, and when you're filled up, you give. And so I think that's, for me at least, I've sometimes felt stingy with compassion for no good reason. And I realize that it's because I feel like, oh, I don't have I don't have enough to give away. And then the moment I can have just more self-compassion for my own limitations or my own, you know, distorted thinking or whatever it is, as soon as I can calm down there, then it's like, oh, sure, now I can be more present w with others or more giving, you know?
Okay, Dan, we're wrapping up the show. That was incredible just now. Literally every answer you're giving is some of my favorite answers I've heard on any of these shows. And I've got 200 now in the books, even though we got about 80 to go that are taped that haven't come out yet. Okay, what would you want to leave us with? Kindness, appreciation, allowing, attention, angels. Here, I got a little list somewhere. Yeah, acceptance, acknowledging. Which word is striking you? Attitude, abundance, gratitude, positivity.
Am I allowed to use four words?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Um, Gratitude, kindness, love, and hope. They're not random. I'll just say first time I ever did research together with my daughter, and we're trying to look at the relationship between inner peace and outer peace. And we were thinking it was in this category, but it really showed up that gratitude, kindness, love, and hope, if you have that for you, that sort of radiates out. And so that's been my new mantra.
I love it. And you sparked something here, so I'll digress for a second. But if you're game,
Yeah.
still close your eyes, just breathe extra through the mouth so the shoulders are heaving ho, like I'm a mean yoga instructor in a mean yoga class. And then ask for peach colored light to come on the eyelids. And I'll explain after the fact. I was trying to debate, is it chicken or egg here? Ask for peach colored light to come on the eyelids, and you'll see peach light, peach colored light. Ask for a really good feeling, very hopeful feeling, giving you a hint. It's an angel named Hope. She's peach colored light. She'll yell, "That's me." And it looks like you're engaging. So ask a private question, ask something about your daughter, and then here's something maybe you're supposed to do, have fun with. It's extra flowers out of the blue for no reason.
Mm.
And did we just have you meet I never get to do her. I don't have a physical photo, or I should say dimensional photo of her. I don't have a representative of an actress. I've grabbed their photo to use to represent her. I'll have to address that. And that's an angel named Hope. High vibe, super cool. She's in a little cabal of hope, faith, joy, grace. Audrey Hepburn's in that group. That doesn't fit in. And I got one angel who's the interconnectedness of all, named Presley. My cat's named after her. My dog is named after Joy. I think you saw Joy earlier. So it's a little cabal of all those easy names. But Presley came in riding in on Elvis Presley movies, which
Of course.
Elvis, do this for a second. I don't like really watch those movies. I don't mind them, but I'm like, why is every time I'm putting on the TV 10 years ago, it's Elvis, Elvis, Elvis? And she's like, just call me Presley. She needed a way to ride in and catch my attention.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
great.
And when
That's
you're the
great.
interconnectedness of all, it's not like faith is faith,
Yeah.
yellow color. Hope is hope. Grace is grace. That's rainbow color for grace. It's, yeah, it doesn't fit in. So she was very creative. Okay, Dan, you still get one more last anything. If it was a t-shirt, you can use the front and the back. But what's the last mantra? You already kind of gave us one, but what's one more? You're on the spot now. What's one more you're going to give us for walking a smoother path in life?
Have hope would be on the front,
Ah,
and on the back would be thank you.
Oh, I got to say thank you, Dan Tomasulo. You are incredible. I was feeling your energy right away. I am thankful we crossed paths the first time and then today, and you'll hopefully be a guest in the future. I will certainly be inviting you. So
Without a doubt, without a doubt. Thank you, Michael. Such a warm, wonderful ride today. Just beautiful. Thank you.
thank
Thank
you
you
very
for your
much, Dan.
gift. All right.